Yeah, well, we're truly living in unprecedented times with the coronavirus and the Coronavirus Act that's taken away all our rights. Face masks, Dr. Vernon Coleman, telling people that they're not good for you. Yeah, maybe they're, introduced to make people submissive. Well, is it going to make any difference? Look at how many people are wearing face masks without, it seems, knowing. Maybe they don't know. I'm all for people being able to make informed consent at the end of the day, regardless of whether it's about wearing face masks or whatever it may be. Vaccines, the coronavirus vaccine. At the end of the day, if people are go into consent, they need to be aware of all the facts. What is it? What does it do? What's in it? All those sort of things. Is it safe? Is it effective? Are there any studies that show that vaccines are safe? Very simple questions that may never get asked or answered, because sometimes the simplest of questions, especially when they're truthful ones like that, are there any studies that show vaccines are safe and effective? Why do they say they are if there are no studies that show they are? Do you know what I mean? But anyway, you've got various people saying various different things. Hull, apparently, is this is I think it was Channel 4 News, saying that Hull appeals for military support as the city's COVID infection rate worsens, based on PCR tests, no doubt, that Boris Johnson, happily admits that 93% of the COVID tests produce false positives. This is the army, and this is the government and the media all driving this agenda, it seems, to justify lockdowns that at the end of the day are going to make a lot of people dependent on the state. There's people saying that how tyrannical the government has become. But, if that's the case, then what more could a tyrannical government want than to make its people dependent upon it, by allowing, whether it's food shortages, whether it's currency problems, so banks have to close, so people can't get the money, whether it's the virus, whether it's the coronavirus itself, that there's many people who say this hasn't been isolated. If it hasn't been isolated, then what on earth are they testing for? What on earth is the vaccine designed to protect people from? If it's not been isolated, then it's another very simple question at the end of the day. Show us the evidence that it's been isolated, and that they've done tests and they can prove that this vaccine does what it's supposed to do. But I'm not convinced, to be fair, if it hasn't been isolated, then I for one wouldn't want to take any experimental new kind of technology that hasn't gone through proper safety tests, and even if they were done, it would take many years. And by then you'd be able to make a better. Only then would you be able to make an informed decision on whether it would be a safe and effective and a wise thing to do. Something that's been rushed through, where they've bypassed some of the safety trials, the animal safety trials, I believe, after, from what I've seen and heard online, apparently the vaccine, the corona vaccine, was tested on ferrets, apparently because they've got a similar immune system to ours. And what happened when they introduced the ferrets to the actual coronavirus, whatever that may be, they all died. They died because their immune systems overreacted, like a shock. And that's had a similar effect to other people. There's also been people who have been paralysed. People that have done the volunteered to take the vaccine. Something that only affects, I think the average age is something like 82, round about there, of people that get it. They normally have underlying problems. They're old, obviously 82, seen their best days, most of them at that age, and got more than one other problem. It's sort of finishes them off, if you like. Whether that's came from bats or whether it was made in a lab with money from America. Whether future was all involved with that, with Obama and all the rest of it, with a grant to the old Wuhan lab. There's people saying that they're paying for their own demise. That they paid for this virus to be created, but anyway, it's not proven to be the killer that we're all led to believe. At the end of the day, the facts, the number of dead people, doesn't justify, if you like, the pandemic response, the lockstep response, the global lockstep response that seems to be, or is in play, if you like, right now, along with this global reset, perhaps. Which this is the thing I think that most people really don't see is that this is happening not just here. It's happening everywhere, and they're all sort of copying the same plan, if you like. A global policy applied locally is what they say. It's a sustainable development due to the old climate change agenda, the Greens, the Green Party, the Green policy to reduce CO2 emissions and all the rest of it. Agenda 21, a genocidal policy to reduce CO2 based on the climate change if you like, great. But anyway, I've said one or two things that I'm sure there'll be plenty of people that disagree with what I say, but at the end of the day, it's just based on what I see, and it does change. Yeah, it does change. I've been online now since 2013. It tells you that if you look, and I've seen a lot of people come and go, and certainly watched quite a few videos in that time, and the truth resonates. If people are being truthful about what they're doing and what they're saying, I think that resonates, and I think there is hope. But like I say, when you look at how many people are still happy to wear masks, even when they may be bad for them, they might actually lead to an increase in bacterial viruses. They might be making themselves ill by lowering the immune system and all the rest of it. This may be the real second wave that's coming, is just because people are bringing it upon themselves because they don't know any better. Because they've been told basically to do something doesn't mean necessarily that they should do it. If they don't know any better, then like I say, I'm all for informed consent. If there's information out there to tell people it's not good for you, then they should be allowed access to it, and they shouldn't be denied that information and led to believe that wearing a mask is a good thing, because it may not be the truth at the end of the day. It could be a bad thing, and it could end up making a lot of people ill, which might be exactly what the government want at the end of the day. If people are sick and dependent, what more could you want? When you look at how many people are going to be losing their jobs, how many people lost their jobs first time around with this lockdown, and how many more people are going to lose their jobs now, it doesn't bear thinking about. How much more can the country, not just individuals, people that are self-employed, but the whole country, because this is having an effect right now. And not just this country, these lockdowns have an effect in other countries in exactly the same way. Mental health, suicides, cancer patients, whatever. People who normally go to the doctor who can't go to the doctor because the hospitals are prioritising for the coronavirus pandemic response. That's what they're doing, and sending people back into care homes again, maybe. It's people need to put it all into perspective. There are people around that are doing that and doing it very, very well. If in the alternative media, if people, that's my understanding. Is people, you've got people that have an open mind, and people who are not interested at the end of the day, don't want to challenge their beliefs. That may be, I don't know, it might be because of it's their job at the end of the day. There may be those sort of people that have done those sort of, I don't know, common purpose trained kind of people, Order followers, people that are just going to do as they're told. There's plenty of those. I believe they've got policies in place where they're not allowed to question. If you work for the local authorities, people like that, I don't think you're allowed to question what they tell you to do, and I don't think they would employ anybody the kind of person that would be likely to, and if you did, you wouldn't last that long, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? So they only allow people in at the end of the day. They're going to do what repeat what they're told. Parrots, and that's what I want. Robots that parrot what they tell them. Little Covoid marshals that are coming. I live in Milton Keynes, and apparently there's going to be 1,000 of them running around telling people to social distance and all the rest of it. These are these not tactics? Isn't this a psyop at the end of the day? Aren't these psychological policies being employed on the public? I don't think I think the government has overstepped the bounds of really what it's all about. I think it really begs the question: are we being governed properly, if you like, or are we being governed by people who've got a vested interest in putting forward policies that benefit not just the companies but those people who are linked to those companies, whether they've got shares, whether they're employed. there seems to be a lot of conflict of interests with the current government, various people in it, and with what's going on, that I don't think would have been allowed in time gone past. But we seem to be in a very strange place where we seem to have people that listen to what they're told on the mainstream news. At the end of the day, you've got people that listen to the propaganda who've been terrorised by the government and their behavioural team that have been terrorising the public by twisting all the figures and all the things that they've been doing. I know that if you look around on the alternative media, you'll see various people that can clearly see what's been done and what they're doing. But, unfortunately, we're in a situation where anyone who does question what the government says are considered a conspiracy theorist. And people like the BBC won't speak to anybody who questions vaccinations regardless of whether they're right or wrong. What it really does, this is what one of the BBC people said: regardless of whether you're right or wrong about vaccinations, they won't even allow anybody a platform, so you only get one side of the story. You're only going to get one side of the story. You can't make an informed decision yourself, and if you're listening to just the mainstream media, you're not going to be able to, and that's the thing is, most people don't understand, don't know, because they're not told. What else can it be? People are not that stupid. They're just not naive. They just don't know because they're not being told. I think there's going to be a lot of unhappy people as more and more people do become aware of what's going on. I'm sure there's going to be more and more people that are unhappy with the way that things have been allowed to progress. All the harm at the end of the day it's done to the country, not just all the old people that have died in old people's homes and all the businesses, all the family businesses that have had to close and that are never going to open again, or all the people that have been forced to claim income support, and all the people who have become depressed and suicidal and homeless and all the rest of it. Where does it end? It seems to end order out of chaos. They're creating the chaos, and then the order is going to be this new world order, total control system that they want to bring in. That's all based on this social crediting system. The 5G, the smart grid, our prison that they're building around us with all these new 5G masts. They look like weapons now if you actually look at them, but what can you say? You can say it looks like a weapon. They do look like weapons. They look like weapons to me, and quiet wars, silent weapons for quiet wars. That's what it is, I believe. I believe that these frequencies can be used not just to harm people, they can be used to put thoughts, not just thoughts. They can actually, I believe, they can actually control you. Like impulses to do things and all the rest of it. This is seems to be the way that we're heading is for total control. Where you can't even think anything that's not won't be just like China. Well, perhaps it will. Where you're not allowed to think anything if it's not policy, government policy. If you're caught on social media or in the street or whatever, it'll be like Germany in 1933 or whatever. You'll get reported because you're saying something that it's not official government speak. Newspeak, whatever you want to call it. It won't. People will be will get they'll get money in their cryptocurrency, whatever it is. They'll get a little Brucey bonus for grassing you up if you speak the truth or anything like that. That's what they're going to do. And I think it's all going to be done with the 5G network and the facial recognition system. And at the end of the day, the convoy marshals that will all have the little cameras, and it's a technological war that's been employed against us. It seems a psychological and a technological, and it's going to be an economic one as well. Unless people see sense at the end of the day that it's not sensible to not to consider all the information that is actually there that should be considered, so that people can make a reasonable, balanced, informed decision. And if they're not being given that, and that's my understanding, is that obviously you're not being given all the information, or I would suggest that you're not being given all the information, regardless whether I'm sort of suggesting about masks, vaccines, and many other things. But it's for people to. You can find out almost anything you want at the end of the day online if you have the time and the mind, if you like. If you want to know, you can pretty much find out anything you want just by having a look and reading or listening to what other people say. You can sooner or later you can find or you hear something that has a say the truth has a ring to it. And that seems to be the path, which is nice to see that a lot of people are on. Whether that's just human curiosity at the end of the day, I don't know, but there seems to be a lot of people on the path of sharing, if you like, good information, truthful information, to make people aware of things that they should know be made aware of at the end of the day. That you don't get with the mainstream media, clearly, or the government. You only get sort of one side of the story, whatever they want to tell you, regardless of whether it's good, bad, right or wrong, which isn't really doesn't seem very good, very democratic. There doesn't seem to be any democratic accountability whatsoever in the current system anyway, regardless of whether you're talking about local authorities or your MP. I think the only choice you have is to vote for somebody else, and it don't really make much difference who you work for. It seems that the same agenda is marches on. Look at the difference you've got between Keir Starmer and Boris. Come on, what's the difference? A Blairite man or Boris, and whether it's Rothschild's puppet or what, who knows? Who can say? Anything. There are people who say the more you know at the end of the day, the more you don't know, because a lot of what you've been told isn't right. Whether that's about germ theories and whatever, viruses and masks and there's a lot of information out there that, if people are interested and they want to know, they can find it, and it is contradictory, because obviously, clearly, you've been told one thing. If you get told one thing, it's good, okay, it's good for you, there's no problem with it. You're not necessarily going to question that if you're the kind of person, I suppose, at the end of the day, who believes what you're told by the BBC, people in the mainstream media, in the government, and Matt Hancock, Boris, and all the others that they've assembled their experts. Some of what they've said, I'm amazed that there seems to be some sort of resistance to this sort of one-sided narrative and people trying to speak up against it. But I'm amazed that it's been allowed to continue. That there's so few people in the media that are allowing this to continue. But it surely must come to an end. Because it's just not really based on real life, is it? It's not right. That's what most people, I think, understand. Is it doesn't what we're being told and what we see in the street and what we know to be true. The more you know at the end of the day, the more you know to be true. Doesn't ring right. It's not right what you're being told, but resist is what we're told. You resist this, and as much as we can. But some people have been around a while. As I say, I've been online since 2013. That's not the first time I've tried to. I can point you to various things that I've put on my website. And the reason I put them on my website is just to point people to different things or things I've done in the past that I can point people to and say, well, I did do this, and I did go there, and I did do this, and I did do that. There are people who know nothing about me or what groups I'm in, what groups I've set up, what groups I've run, what groups I monitor, or moderator of, whatever. Not just now, but over a period of time. Now, there's you've got your social media. I don't normally bother with YouTube and things like that, but I'm going to put this on YouTube. It's just curiosity value at the end of the day to see whether how long it remains online and see if it gets taken offline or not, as the case may be. We'll see. But generally, if you say too much stuff that's a bit too truthful, anything really that's critical of the government, anything that anyone can claim has offended them, or anyway, that's what it takes. It seems, but we'll see what happens. But I think that's the where we're going. It seems, to this total control system. If people don't object to it and make the rejections heard, then it really do need to, whether it's your stand-up people you listen to or whoever you listen to, but if people don't make themselves heard and they don't do it en masse, then the government's going to assume it's all good, and they're going to carry on doing what they're doing at the end of the day. I think that we're just going to see more and more people made unemployed with the lockdowns, and more and more suicides, all bad. There doesn't seem to be anything good about lockdowns, or lockdowns don't seem to be connected with health in any real, certainly not when it comes to the coronavirus and the real threat that it poses when you put it into perspective. It doesn't seem reasonably justifiable. But that's the problem. Is a lot of people don't realise when they become aware more of the information that's out there, and they can put things into perspective, and they do en masse. And I think there will be change, because you've got the other side of the story that you haven't, there will still be lots of people that haven't been told. So this will go on and on and on. not just because of the effects of lockdown. This whole thing about what's right and wrong, the truth being told or not, free speech, whatever you want to call it. This is going to go on for a little while, and it's either going to go badly, we'll have no free speech whatsoever, or not. We will see. We will see. And that, I think, will be sooner than later, sooner than people realise, with the AI technology and the social crediting system and the 5G smart grid. Once all that's all in play, it'll be so easy to get people onto the whether it's universal basic income support, whatever. Once they're dependent on the state, then basically you're going to do as they're told, or you're going to perish. Simple as that, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And this is what's been done to our country by our so-called politicians who are doing this apparently to protect us. I think when enough people do put this into perspective, they might have an alternative view.